When my twin sister lifted her sleeve in that sterile visiting room, I knew the world had already decided which one of us it was willing to break. The clock on the wall at Fairview State Hospital made a sound like a drip, slow, patient, impossible to ignore. I had learned to live by that sound. It marked my days better than calendars ever did. Drip, another minute survived. Drip, another breath taken without losing myself. Chloe sat across from me, with her hands folded in her lap like a child waiting to be scolded. She wore a pale blue sweater even though it was early summer, the kind of day where the heat clung to your skin no matter how thin the walls were. Her hair was longer than the last time I'd seen her, pulled back in a low ponytail that exposed the soft curve of her neck. She looked smaller somehow. Not thinner, just folded inward. "You look good," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I nodded. At Fairview, they taught us to keep our reactions measured. Calm was currency. Calm meant privileges. Calm meant no notes in your file written in red ink. "You too," I lied gently. We talked about small things at first. The weather, Luna's kindergarten teacher, a new coffee shop that had opened near her house, the one Vince didn't like because the barista had a nose ring and opinions. Chloe's voice stayed light, careful, like she was stepping around something fragile inside herself. Then the silence stretched. The drip of the clock grew louder. She tugged at the cuff of her sweater. "Jade," she said, and my name sounded different in her mouth, heavier. "I don't have much time." "You've got an hour," I said. "Same as always." She shook her head. "I mean, like this." Her fingers trembled as she pushed the sleeve up her arm. I didn't gasp. I didn't reach for her. Fairview had trained that out of me too. But something in my chest went tight and sharp, like I'd swallowed a piece of glass. Bruises bloomed along her skin in shades that told a story all on their own, deep purples fading into sickly yellows. Fingerprints pressed so clearly I could almost see the hands that had made them. There were older marks too, half hidden near her elbow, and a thin line where skin had split and healed badly. "Chloe," I said softly. She dropped the sleeve back down like she'd burned herself. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. Chloe had always been better at holding things in. "I fell," she said automatically. Then she laughed, a brittle sound that cracked in the middle. "I'm sorry. I don't know why I even said that. It's what I always say." The visiting room smelled faintly of disinfectant and burnt coffee. Somewhere down the hall, a door slammed. I felt the familiar hum under my skin, the one the doctors called agitation, and I called remembering. "Did Vince do this?" I asked. Her silence was answer enough. She nodded once, then again, faster, like if she kept moving her head, the truth might shake loose and fall away. "Not just him," she whispered. "His mother, too. Eleanor. She watches sometimes. She says it's discipline. Bianca says I provoke him." My hands curled into fists in my lap. 10 years earlier, fists like these had put me behind locked doors. "And Luna?" I asked, my voice steady by force of habit. Chloe's breath hitched. "He doesn't hit her," she said quickly. "Not like me. But he yells. And Eleanor, she tells her I'm weak, that she shouldn't be like me." The drip of the clock stopped mattering. All I could see was my sister at 6 years old, hiding behind me when our father raised his voice. Chloe had always been soft in the ways the world punished most. "I tried to leave," she said. "Once. Vince took my phone. Eleanor told me no court would believe someone married to a man like him would lie about bruises. Bianca laughed and asked if I wanted to join you in here." She gestured around us. Fairview. White walls. Soft corners. A place built to contain what other people didn't want to understand. I had come here because of Chloe once. Because when Vince's father, then just her boyfriend, had shoved her against a car in a parking lot, something in me snapped clean in two. The report called it excessive force. The judge called it unstable behavior. Chloe called it her fault. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. "I'm scared all the time. I thought maybe you'd know." I did know. Not because I was wise or healed, but because I had spent a decade learning what fear did to a body, how rage could either eat you alive or keep you breathing. "Look at me," I said. She did. For a moment, it was like looking in a warped mirror. Same eyes, same mouth, different lives carved into our faces. "We're identical," I said slowly. "Same birthmarks, same voice if we try, same scars if you know where to look." Her brow furrowed. "Jade, what are you?" "I've been evaluated more times than I can count," I continued. "I know how these systems work. I know what people see when they look at me, and I know what they see when they look at you." She swallowed hard. "They see you as dangerous, and you as harmless," I said, as someone no one would ever believe could fight back. The idea was forming even as I spoke it. Heavy and inevitable, like gravity. I can't go to the police, she said. They'll side with his family. Eleanor has money. Connections. I know, I said. I can't run, she went on. They'd find me. And Luna. I know, I said again. The clock started dripping once more. What if, I said carefully, you didn't have to be the one to face them? Her eyes widened, fear and hope tangling together. Jade, no, you can't. You're finally stable. You're up for re-evaluation. I smiled, small and calm. The kind of smile Fairview loved. That's exactly why I can. We sat there, hands inches apart. The air between us charged with everything we had never been able to say. Outside the narrow window, the sun shone like the world was simple. It wasn't. But sometimes, simplicity came from choosing the hard thing on purpose. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't going back to that white room alone. The plan didn't arrive like some lightning bolt of brilliance. It settled in slowly, the way dust does, quiet, unavoidable, coating every other thought until there was no shaking it loose. After Chloe left, I lay on my narrow bed staring at the ceiling, tracing the hairline crack that ran from the corner light to the air vent. I'd traced it 1,000 times before. Tonight, it felt like a map. At Fairview, nights were the hardest. The medication dulled the edges, but it also sharpened the memories you tried not to touch. I could still hear the echo of Vince's father shouting in that parking lot years ago. Still feel the way Chloe's shoulder blades had jutted out beneath my hands when I pulled her behind me. I hadn't planned to hurt him. I had planned to stop him. Intent doesn't matter much once blood is involved. The next morning, Dr. Feldman asked me how I was feeling. He always asked that, pen poised like the question itself might reveal something new. Clear, I said. He smiled. That's good. Your re-evaluation is coming up. Any anxiety about discharge? I hesitated just long enough to seem thoughtful. Some, I said. But I think structure has helped me. Structure. That was the word they liked. Not survival. Not endurance. Structure. By the time Chloe came back for her next visit, I had rehearsed the conversation 12 times. Still, when she sat down across from me, pale and hollow-eyed, the words stuck in my throat. They're watching me more closely, she whispered before I could speak. Eleanor asked why I'd been gone so long. Bianca said I looked different. Different. I almost laughed. Abuse changed a person the way water changed stone slowly. Until one day, you didn't recognize the shape anymore. Listen to me, I said, leaning forward. We have to be precise. This only works if you trust me. Her hands twisted together. I do. I'm scared. So am I admitted. But fear isn't always a warning. Sometimes it's a door. Her eyes filled. What if they hurt you? I thought of Vince's hands. Thick fingers. The way power had always come easily to him. I also thought of the restraint techniques I'd learned here. The hours of therapy spent redirecting anger. Grounding myself in breath and body. They won't, I said quietly. Not the way they hurt you. We spoke in fragments after that. Like conspirators. Timelines. Details. Her home, the Hawthorne house, sat back from the road. All white columns and manicured hedges. The kind of place that looked kind in daylight and cruel after dark. Eleanor ruled it like a queen without a crown. Vince obeyed her in ways he didn't even seem to notice. Bianca hovered, sharp-tongued and bored, always looking for someone weaker to cut. And Luna? I asked. Chloe's mouth softened when she said her daughter's name. She sleeps with a nightlight. She hates thunderstorms. Eleanor says she's too sensitive. I nodded. I'll be careful. The switch itself was almost insultingly easy. Chloe brought a duffel bag with clothes we both owned versions of. Same jeans. Same black boots. She braided my hair the way she wore hers now, hands shaking only a little. I gave her my hospital-issued sweatshirt, the one that smelled faintly of soap and bleach. You'll tell them you're me, I said. You're overwhelmed. You need rest. You'll cooperate. That's what they want to see. And you'll tell them you're me, she said, swallowing. You'll go home. Home. The word felt strange in my mouth. On the morning of the swap, the air was thick with rain. Chloe walked down the hallway toward intake, shoulders hunched, eyes downcast. She looked exactly like I had 10 years ago. I watched until the doors closed behind her. Then I stood, straightened my spine, and walked out of Fairview State Hospital as Chloe Hawthorne. The Hawthorne house smelled like lemon polish and control. Eleanor met me at the door, her lips pinched into a smile that never reached her eyes. Chloe, she said, you're back earlier than expected. I lowered my gaze, just like my sister would have. They said I was doing better. Vince appeared behind her, filling the doorway. His eyes swept over me, assessing, already bored. You look tired, he said. I let my shoulders sag, let my voice soften. I am. Bianca leaned against the banister, scrolling on her phone. Took you long enough, she muttered. That first night, I listened more than I spoke. I noted the way Eleanor corrected everything, how I set my fork down, how Luna held her crayon. I watched Vince's jaw tighten when dinner was late. I felt the weight of their expectations pressing down, shaping me into the woman they thought they owned. But something shifted when Vince grabbed my wrist. It happened over nothing. A glass left on the counter. His fingers closed too tight, too fast. Don't make me repeat myself, he said. I looked up at him slowly, not with fear, with calm. His grip loosened. Just a fraction. Eleanor cleared her throat. Vince, she said sharply. Not in front of the child. He released me like I'd burned him. Bianca stared, suspicion flickering across her face. I went to bed that night with my heart pounding, adrenaline humming through me. I pressed my ear to the door and listened to the house breathe. Every creak, every footstep. They thought they'd brought Chloe home. They had no idea who was lying in that bed. And as I stared at the ceiling so much like the one at Fairview, I made myself a promise. I would not raise my voice. I would not lose control. I would let them show me exactly who they were. And when they tried to break me, I would already be recording the cracks. By the third morning in the Hawthorne house, I understood the rhythm of their cruelty. It wasn't loud, not at first. It lived in sighs and glances, in the way Eleanor rearranged the kitchen after I'd cleaned it, in how Bianca corrected Luna's homework with a smile that felt like a slap. Vince saved his anger for evenings, when the day had worn him thin and the walls seemed to close in around him. I moved through it all like a ghost, observing, cataloging. At Fairview, they taught us to name our triggers. Here, I named theirs. Eleanor hated disorder. Bianca hated being ignored. Vince hated feeling small. That knowledge was a kind of armor. Chloe, Eleanor said one afternoon, tapping her spoon against her teacup. You've been quieter. I kept my eyes on Luna, who was coloring at the table. I'm trying not to upset anyone. Bianca snorted. That's new. Vince said nothing, but his gaze lingered on me longer than necessary, like he was waiting for something to give. That night, after Luna was asleep, he cornered me in the hallway. The light from the bathroom cast sharp angles across his face. You think I didn't notice? He said. Notice what? I asked softly. You looking at me like that? He snapped. Like you're judging. I held his gaze. Not challenging. Just present. I'm not. His hand twitched, then dropped. He exhaled sharply and walked away, muttering under his breath. I went into the bathroom and locked the door. My hands were shaking not with fear, but with the effort of restraint. I turned on the tap and let the water run until the sound filled my ears. This was the line. The one I couldn't cross. So I didn't. The next day, I bought a cheap phone at a gas station while running errands with Eleanor. She didn't notice when I slipped it into my bag. She rarely noticed me at all unless I failed her. I hid it behind the loose board under the sink in the downstairs bathroom. Every night after that, I turned it on and recorded. Not just the shouting, the threats, the names, the way Eleanor justified it all. She needs firmness, Eleanor said once, her voice sharp as vinegar. Weak women raise weak children. Vince laughed. You hear that, Chloe? Maybe if you tried harder. I said nothing. I let the silence stretch. Let them fill it. Bianca grew restless. She'd pace the house, pick fights over nothing. One afternoon, she cornered me while Eleanor was out. You're different, she said flatly. You used to flinch. I folded laundry, careful, precise. I'm tired. She stepped closer. Don't get ideas. This is still our house. I met her eyes, just for a second longer than Chloe would have. Something flickered there. Uncertainty, maybe. That night, Luna crawled into bed beside me, her small body trembling. Daddy's mad again, she whispered. I wrapped an arm around her, feeling her heartbeat against my ribs. You're safe, I said, and meant it. But safety in that house was temporary, conditional. The first time Vince hit me, he was almost anticlimactic. A slap. Quick. Meant to shock more than injure? I let myself stumble. Let my cheeks sting. Let the room go quiet. Eleanor watched from the doorway, her face unreadable. Bianca's lips curled into a smile. Don't make a scene, Eleanor said. I nodded. I won't. Later. Alone. I lifted my phone and documented the mark. Time-stamped. Clear. At Fairview, they taught us grounding techniques. Name 5 things you can see. 4 you can feel. 3 you can hear. I saw the bruise darkening. I felt the cool tile under my feet. I heard Luna breathing in the next room. I stayed. The turning point came on a Sunday afternoon. Eleanor had invited guests, church, friends, donors, people who saw only what she curated. I wore a long-sleeved dress and smiled when spoken to. Bianca played the dutiful daughter. Vince drank too much. At one point, Eleanor pulled me aside. "You've embarrassed us," she hissed. "People are talking." "I've done nothing," I said. "That's the problem," she snapped. "You used to know your place." The words landed like a switch flipping. "My place?" I repeated quietly. She leaned closer. "Don't test me, Chloe. You know what happens when you do." I looked past her, at the guests laughing in the living room, at the version of reality she sold so easily. "I do," I said. That night, Vince came into the bedroom reeking of alcohol and entitlement. He didn't bother with words this time. He shoved me onto the bed, hands rough, impatient. I didn't fight back. I waited. When his grip tightened, when his balance shifted just enough, I moved. Not with rage, with precision. I twisted, using his momentum against him the way I'd been taught. He stumbled, hit the dresser hard, swearing in shock. Eleanor burst in. Bianca right behind her. "What did you do?" Bianca shrieked. I stood, breathing evenly. He tripped. Vince stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "You're not well," she said coldly. "I think it's time we call your doctor. I've had a strange calm settle over me." "Go ahead," I said. "Call whoever you like," because beneath my sleeve, my phone was still recording. And for the first time since I'd walked into that house, I saw fear flicker not in me, but in them. They moved quickly after that. Faster than I expected, but not faster than I'd prepared for. The next morning, Eleanor was already on the phone when I came downstairs. Her voice was low, urgent, wrapped in concern so convincing it might have fooled anyone who didn't live under her roof. "Yes, doctor. She's deteriorating," she said, eyes never leaving mine. "We're very worried. She's been aggressive, unstable." Bianca hovered nearby, arms crossed, satisfaction sharp on her face. Vince sat at the table, nursing a coffee, his jaw tight, his eyes dark. I poured myself a glass of water. My hand didn't shake. "I think she needs to go back," Eleanor continued. "For everyone's safety." I met Vince's gaze over the rim of the glass. He looked away first. By noon, they had paperwork. Forms I recognized. The language of concern. The weaponized kindness of mental health bureaucracy. "You're not thinking clearly," Eleanor said, pressing a pen into my hand. "Sign this. It's just temporary." I glanced at the signature line. "Chloe Hawthorne. I'd like me love you," I said. Bianca laughed. "You don't have one." I smiled faintly. "You'd be surprised." Eleanor's lips thinned. "Don't be difficult." "I'm not," I said. "I'm being careful." That afternoon, the police arrived. 2 officers. Polite. Neutral. Trained to de-escalate. "We've had a call expressing concern," one of them said gently. "About your well-being." "I'm fine," I said. Vince scoffed. "She attacked me." The officer looked at him. "Is that so?" I rolled up my sleeve. The room went quiet. Bruises in various stages of healing told a story that didn't need embellishment. Eleanor inhaled sharply. "She bruises easily," she said quickly. "You know how she is." I took out my phone. "Officer," I said. "May I show you something?" They listened. To the recordings. To Eleanor's voice. Sharp and unrepentant. To Vince's threats. To Bianca's laughter. The air shifted. "We'll need to take statements," one officer said slowly. Eleanor's composure cracked. "Just a hairline fracture, but I saw it." "This is a misunderstanding," she insisted. "She's manipulating you." I thought of Chloe in my old room at Fairview, sitting calmly, answering questions honestly, being believed for the first time in years. "No," I said. "This is clarity." Things unraveled after that. Child services came. Lawyers followed. Bank records surfaced accounts Eleanor had hidden. Money siphoned and stashed. Leverage she'd used to control her family. Bianca turned on her mother within hours, eager to save herself. Vince tried to minimize, to excuse, to blame. None of it worked. The house emptied slowly, like a stage after a long, ugly play. I stood in the kitchen one last time, listening to the quiet. Luna clutched my hand, her grip small but fierce. "Are we going to be okay?" she asked. "Yes," I said. And this time, it wasn't a promise built on hope alone. Weeks later, I sat in a different room. Not white, not locked. A lawyer slid papers across the table. "Divorce, custody, settlements. Your sister will be free," she said. "And you were instrumental." I thought of Chloe's laugh as children, the way she used to braid my hair before school. "I just stood where I was needed," I said. When Chloe walked out of Fairview, her eyes met mine across the parking lot. No bars between us. No lies. We didn't speak at first. We just held each other, breathing in the same air. "Thank you," she whispered. I shook my head. We did it together. The money gave us options. Space, time, but freedom came from something older. From knowing that when the world tried to break one of us, the other would become the storm. Freedom, it turns out, doesn't arrive with fireworks. It comes quietly, in small choices. In mornings where you wake up and realize no one is listening at the door. Chloe moved into a small rental on the edge of town. A place with creaky floors and too much light in the afternoons. Luna claimed the bedroom with the window that faced the old oak tree. She pressed her forehead to the glass every morning like she was checking to see if the world was still there. I stayed with them at first. Not because Chloe asked, she never did, but because we were still learning how to exist without bracing ourselves. On our first night there, Chloe stood in the kitchen staring at the stove. I don't know what to make," she said softly. "I used to plan meals around what Eleanor liked." I opened the fridge. "What do you like?" She blinked. "I don't know." So we ordered takeout. Pizza, greasy and imperfect. Luna laughed when cheese slid off her slice onto the floor. No one yelled. No one corrected her posture or tone. Chloe cried in the bathroom later, quietly, with the door closed. Healing isn't loud either. The court proceedings dragged on. Eleanor fought until the end, clinging to control like it was oxygen. Bianca cut a deal and disappeared. Vince lost everything he thought made him powerful. I attended hearings as a witness. Calm, measured, credible. The judge listened. One afternoon, after it was all over, Chloe and I sat on the porch steps watching Luna chase fireflies. "I don't know who I am without fear," Chloe said. I thought about my years at Fairview. The white rooms, the labels. "I'm still figuring that out too," I admitted. She leaned her head against my shoulder. For the first time in years, she didn't flinch at sudden sounds. We talked about the future, about school, about work, about maybe moving somewhere new when the lease was up. "What about you?" she asked. "What do you want?" The question caught me off guard. "I want to be seen," I said finally. "For who I am, not for what I did trying to protect someone else." She smiled. "You are." The night before I moved into my own place, Luna crawled into my lap with a crayon drawing. It was 3 stick figures holding hands. 2 tall, 1 small. "That's us," she said proudly. I swallowed past the lump in my throat. "It's perfect." Later, when the apartment was quiet, Chloe stood in the doorway of the guest room. "You saved me," she said. I met her gaze. "You survived. That was your strength." She nodded slowly. "Maybe we're stronger together." I thought of all the years we'd been separated by walls, physical and invisible. "Yes," I said. "We are." I left the next morning with a box of my things and a heart that felt lighter than it ever had. For the first time, my life belonged to me. Life didn't become simple after that, but it became honest. I found a small apartment not far from Chloe's. It had uneven floors and a radiator that clanged like it was arguing with itself. But it was mine. The first night I slept there, I lay on the mattress on the floor and listened to the sounds of the city outside, cars passing. Someone laughing on the sidewalk. A dog barking 2 buildings down. No one was coming to check on me. No one was locking a door behind me. That kind of silence takes getting used to. I started therapy again. This time on my own terms. No white coats. No clipboards held like shields. My therapist, Mara, had kind eyes and a habit of letting silences stretch until you filled them with something real. "You don't have to justify your existence here," she told me in our first session. I cried then. Not loudly, just enough to feel it. Chloe enrolled in a trauma support group. The first night she went, she texted me from the parking lot. "I might leave early," I replied. "That's okay. Staying is okay too." She stayed. Luna started sleeping through the night. She stopped flinching when voices rose on television. She asked questions, endless, curious questions about the world. One afternoon, as Chloe and I sat at the kitchen table helping her with homework, Chloe laughed suddenly. The sound startled both of us. "I forgot what that felt like," she said, hand pressed to her mouth. I smiled. "You'll remember. The money from the settlement sat untouched for a long time. Not because we didn't need it, but because we were afraid of what it represented. Power. Choice. The very things Eleanor had twisted into weapons. Eventually, Chloe used some of it to go back to school. Counseling. She said she wanted to help women like her women who'd been taught to doubt their own bruises. I used mine to take a class too. Writing. Nights spent hunched over a desk, putting words to experiences I'd spent years trying not to name. "Your voice is steady," my instructor said once. That's rare. I knew how hard I'd worked for that steadiness. Every so often, a letter arrived from Eleanor's lawyer. Appeals. Threats thinly disguised as formality. We didn't respond. Power loses its bite when it's no longer fed. On the anniversary of my discharge from Fairview, Chloe and I drove out to the coast. The wind was sharp, the water restless. Luna ran ahead, her laughter carried away by the waves. "I used to think you ruined your life for me," Chloe said suddenly. I looked at her. "Why?" "Because you went away. Because you lost so much." I watched Luna skip stones, her small arm winding back with serious concentration. "I didn't lose everything," I said. "I learned what I was capable of surviving." She nodded. "I'm sorry it took me so long to see that. It took me a while, too." We stood there, side by side, identical faces turned toward the same horizon. Later that night, back home, I unpacked a box I'd been avoiding. Inside were old hospital papers, letters I'd written and never sent. A photo of Chloe and me at 16, arms slung around each other, defiant and unbroken. I taped the photo above my desk, not as a reminder of what we'd endured, but of what we'd reclaimed. Time did what it always does. It softened the sharpest edges, but it never erased the lines completely. Chloe grew into herself slowly, like someone learning a new language. Some days she spoke it fluently. Other days she stumbled over words she thought she already knew. There were mornings she woke up shaking from dreams she couldn't fully remember, and nights she sat on the couch staring at nothing long after Luna had gone to bed. I learned when to sit beside her and when to give her space. We celebrated small victories. The first time she raised her voice in a meeting. The first time she said no without apologizing. The day she signed her name on a lease renewal without asking anyone's permission. One evening, as we folded laundry together, she paused, holding one of Luna's socks. "I used to think strength looked like silence," she said. "Like enduring." I nodded. "That's what they teach you. I don't want Luna to learn that," she continued. "I want her to know she can take up space." "She will," I said. "She already does." Luna burst into the room on cue, arms spread wide. "Aunt Jade, look how fast I can spin." She twirled until she fell over giggling. We laughed with her, the sound filling the room. The past still visited sometimes. A man on the street with Vince's build would make my shoulders tense. A certain tone of voice could still send Chloe's heart racing. Healing didn't mean forgetting, it meant remembering without drowning. One afternoon, Chloe asked if I'd ever regret what I did. "I regret that it was necessary," I said, "but not that I did it." She nodded slowly. "Me neither." The last letter from Eleanor came a year later. Short, bitter, accusing us of theft, betrayal, ingratitude. Chloe read it once, then tore it in half and dropped it in the trash. "That's done," she said. It was. On Luna's 8th birthday, we threw a small party in the park. Balloons, cupcakes with too much frosting. A handful of friends Chloe had made through school and work. As Luna blew out her candles, she closed her eyes tight. "What did you wish for?" Chloe asked. Luna shrugged. "I already have everything I want." Chloe's eyes filled. She looked at me. Gratitude, and something deeper passing between us. Later, as the sun dipped low and the park emptied, Chloe and I sat on a bench, watching Luna chase shadows. "Do you ever feel like we're normal?" Chloe asked. I smiled. "I think we're better than normal." She laughed. "You always say that." "It's true," I said. "Normal doesn't fight this hard to be whole." That night, alone in my apartment, I wrote in my journal a habit I'd kept since Fairview. Sometimes, you have to become the storm to clear the sky. But storms pass, and what they leave behind can grow. I closed the notebook and turned off the light. For the first time in a long while, my dreams were quiet. There are still moments, small, unexpected ones, when I catch my reflection in a window or a darkened screen and have to remind myself where I am. Not because I'm lost, but because I'm free in ways I never planned for. Chloe still calls me when she has a hard day. Luna still climbs into my lap like the world was always meant to be safe. And I still carry Fairview with me, not as a wound, but as proof. Proof that being labeled broken doesn't mean you are. Proof that sometimes the person the world fears is the one who knows how to protect the most gently. People ask me if I was scared living in that house, facing the people who nearly destroyed my sister. The truth is, I was. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing love anyway. It's standing still when every instinct tells you to run. It's knowing when to be quiet, and when silence becomes dangerous. Chloe didn't need a hero. She needed someone who believed her bruises told the truth. Luna didn't need saving, she needed a future that wasn't shaped by cruelty. And I didn't need redemption. I needed purpose. We didn't win because we were clever or ruthless. We won because we refused to let violence define us. We documented. We waited. We told the truth when it mattered most. Justice doesn't always arrive loudly, but when it does, it carries the weight of everything you survived to reach it. If you're listening to this and wondering whether you're strong enough to leave, strong enough to speak, Strong enough to become something your past never prepared you for. Let me tell you this. Strength doesn't always look like standing tall. Sometimes it looks like staying calm. Sometimes it looks like holding someone else's hand while the storm passes. And sometimes it looks like becoming the storm yourself so the people you love can finally see the sky. So I'll leave you with this question. The one I still ask myself on quiet nights. If someone you loved was being broken behind closed doors, would you be willing to become what the world once feared in order to protect them? If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told, stories about survival, justice, and the courage it takes to choose love, consider subscribing and supporting the channel. Until next time, take care of each other.